we're going to discuss is nakakapag-procedural na tayo. So now this is the time that we're going to discuss classes and objects in object-oriented programming. Okay? So first is siyempre implementation muna ng classes tsaka objects. And then how are we going to do that? So after the discussion with regards to classes and objects, so we're going directly to um, implementation of classes and objects in Java. So siguro yung demonstration part siguro around ano na lang, tapusin muna natin yung mga discussion. Okay? So first is let's try to discuss the um, objects and classes with regards to um, introduction to OOP. Okay, so objectives, use the object browser to explore classes and objects. By the way, class, ito naman is Sir, why Visual Basic or .NET yung gamit. So it's the same implementation. Different lang naman yung ginamit na platform or language. Okay, but it's all the same. So okay lang yun. Okay, use the object browser to explore classes and objects, design and create classes, use class modules to declare and use objects, add methods, events, and properties to classes. Okay, so those are the um, important things that we should know about OOP. Okay, so what are those vocabulary that we're going to somewhat encounter with regards to discussing this lecture for today? Is first is the business rules. Okay, next is by valuation, data encapsulation, data hiding, inheritance, object-oriented programming or OOP. So a little bit of introduction. Okay? And then parang ano lang naman din to. Oh, kaya siya introduction, syempre, parang overview ng mga, excuse me, i-discuss natin for the succeeding meetings that we're going to have. And then operator overloading, platform polymorphism, usable coding, and then string conversion. Okay. So with regards to OOP, so there's a saying with regards to if you're going to implement OOP into your um, code, okay, or into your program or system softwares, okay, maximum effect with minimum effort. Kasi why? So every programmer wants to be more productive. Maximum effect with minimum effort is an old saying endorsed by every programmer. Okay, programmer wants a programming environments that makes it easy to write code. Programmers want their programs to work on several different platforms. Working on different platforms means writing programs that work on different combinations of hardware and operating systems. So programmers want to write reusable code, which is code you can use in more than one program. So meaning to say, dito pumapasok yung word na code reuse. That those codes that you use in a specific program, and then you can implement those syntaxes or those codes into another program. So that's what you call code reuse. Okay, so in a different manner, sir, question, if we're going to somewhat um kasi ang pagpo-program class, it's a different thing with regards to the industry or field that you want to go with. Kasi kunyari, um, gusto mo mag-web, okay? So pwede ka mag-VB script, pwede ka mag-JavaScript, at saka pwede ka mag-Django, Python. So iba-iba yung platform mo, pero in terms of implementation, gumagawa ka pa rin kasi ng website. So pare-parehas lang 'yon na website yung magiging output mo. The difference is the syntax. But in terms of the implementation of the codes is the same. Okay? So OOP, by the way class, ang mga websites are using OOP. Why? Kasi pagka kasi in-upload yan sa server yung website na ginawa nyo, is as much as possible, it is somewhat lightweight. Okay, kailangan magaan siya. Okay, hindi kasi merong specific file size lang na pwede mong i-upload para ma-up yung website mo. Okay, hindi kasi pwede na ito is for example, um, lalagay mo yung mga highly defined picture or high quality pictures tapos gusto mo kasi maganda yung website. Although gano'n, okay, we should actually check for the specific or the requirements of the server. Kasi mamaya hindi naman pala sobrang laki ng binayad niyo dun sa server, so limited lang yung capacity na puwedeng ma-handle. So kaya gumagamit ng mga OOP or procedural, okay? Normally ang OOP is to save file size kasi nagko-code reuse ka, eh, gumagamit ka ng objects, eh, okay? Kaya mas makaka-save ka sa file size. Okay? So, the foundation of OOP is data. Okay? Always remember that, class. Akala ng iba, kaya tayo nag-object-oriented programming is because of the code. No. We're doing OOPs because of the data. We are reusing not the code, we're reusing the data. Okay? Data and operation perform on the data. Okay, it's all about the data that you're trying to process. So an object contains both data and the operations that can be performed on the data. For example, a list box is an object. It contains the data in its item collection and the operation that can be performed on the data. The operations are called methods. Okay, so ang sabi sa OOP class is um, ang pagko-contain, pagpa-process, pagpe-perform ng operation sa data is OOP 'yon. Okay? Object-oriented 'yan as long as it can perform a specific task. Okay? So for example, yung list box daw is an object. Okay? So always remember, ang object ay nagko-contain ng data. Okay? So we're going deeper on that pagka nagpo-program na tayo sa Java kasi mas maintindihan nyo how does object works with regards to data. Okay? So, kunyari daw yung list box nyo is your object. It contains the data in its items collection and the operation that can be performed on the data. So, yung list box daw yung object na nagko-contain ng data. So, it means ang object ay container ng data or lalagyan ng data si object. Okay? So, in its item collection and the operation that can be performed on the data. So, it means that pagka kasi 'di ba, for example, nilagay mo yung data dun sa loob ng object. So what actions you can actually do with regards to that particular data, okay, na nakalagay dun sa object. Okay? So the operations are called, ang tawag dun ay methods, yung mga operations na yon. Okay? So, excuse me, sorry class. So, one method that you can use with regards to your data is the data encapsulation. So meaning hiding information from the user and the programmer. How does a list box store information in memory? So what code does it use to sort its contents? Okay, so in OOP, these questions are not concern of the programmer. To communicate with an object, a programmer writes a code that sends a message to the object. Okay, the message instruct the object what operation to perform on the data they contain. Communication is restricted to the messages, making the internal working of the object hidden from the user and the programmer. So, ano po ang silbi ng data encapsulation? So, this is one of the methods of OOP. Pag sinabi kasing data encapsulation, you're trying to hide the information from the user, okay, and the programmer. Okay? Sir, ano yun? Pati ako hindi ko malalaman. Siyempre, kung sino yung nag-develop, yun yung nakakaalam kung ano yung laman nung object. Na laman ay yung mga data, which is if you're going to combine and process those data, will lead you to have an information. So, sir, ano po yung nire-raise na concern ni encapsulation? Ang nire-raise na concern ng encapsulation is security. Okay? Sinesecure niya yung data sa loob ng object. Okay? Kasi para hindi siya, kunyari, na denial of service ka, kahit ma-denial of service ka, kung naka-data encapsulation ka, kahit ma-deny yung service, yung objects mo or yung mga data mo is what? Naka-hide. Kahit ma-deny yung service, kung naka-hide yung information, that's useless. Okay, walang service, kunyari itong system na 'to can, kunyari receive data. So, 'pag na-DOS ka, hindi ka makaka-receive ng data, pero hindi niya malalaman kung ano yung data mo kasi naka-encapsulated yung data. So, puwede mong sabihin na yung data mo is nakalagay sa isang protected case. Okay? So, yun yung pinaka, um, essence why we need to encapsulate data. So, it actually restricts the data to be somewhat communicate with the programmer that the programmer writes or wrote those codes. Okay, kumbaga natatanggalan ng connection yung code na ginawa ng ibang programmer doon sa ginawa mong program kasi naka-encapsulate siya. So the message instruct the objects what operation to perform on the data they contain. Communication is restricted to the messages making the internal working. Kunyari, di ba nagko-call ka? Kunyari, meron kasi tinatawag sa, yun nga, pag nag-code reuse ka sa programming, okay, hindi mo matatawag, hindi mo mare-reuse yung code kasi naka-encapsulate siya. Okay, secure siya. Okay? So gagawin natin yan so mas maintindihan nyo what I'm trying to say. But generically speaking, okay? So ayun yung essence ng encapsulation. Okay? So data hiding. So data hiding allows a programmer to worry about problem solving rather than about writing code to handle the details of storing and operating on data. So objects take care of the details for you. So yun nga yung isang under to ng encapsulation si data hiding. Yun yung ginagawa ni encapsulation. So hina-hide niya yung data. So normally with regards to hiding of your data, so it actually removes the capability of the programmer or the user to read the details of the specific object. Okay? Next, inheritance naman. So when you create a new class based on a simpler existing class, so a new class inherits all the properties of the original class. A principle called inheritance. So na-inherit. So sa Tagalog naman nung inherit is pamana, di ba? Pinapamana mo. Okay? So in this new class, you can replace to or extend the properties of the original class. Okay? So the new class may add new methods and properties. Okay? So, sir, medyo naguguluhan kami, right? Kasi, sir, ano ba new class based and then ano ba yung object? Okay? So, teka lang. Bigyan ko kayo ng para mas maintindihan nyo. Okay? Wait a second. I'm going to use W3 school na lang. Pero hindi ko gagamitin yung object JavaScript para mas madali. May illustration kasi dito na tandaan ko eh. Para hindi ko na okay? Nakikita class? Baka sabihin nyo, sir, si sir gumagamit ng double tree school. Oo, ano yun, kayo lang pwede. Gumagamit din ako neto, no, kahit naman siguro sino, lalo na pagka, Pero I'm just using this for the example. Okay? So, wag niyo na lang intindihin yung syntax, ha? Okay? So, ano po ba yung objects? We're talking about sa objects. So, real-life objects, properties, and method. Di ba kanina sabi sa OOP, okay, with regards to objects, 'di ba? The objects are the containers of the data and the methods is the action performed for per specific object. So for example, meron tayong in real life a car is an object. Yes, 'di ba? Bagay 'yan, sasakyan. So a car has properties like weight and color and methods like start and stop. So for example, ang object natin ito, car. Okay? Ano yung mga data sa loob ng object? Ang data sa loob ng object is called properties. Okay? Which properties are, ano ba yung mga pwede natin ipasok na data dun sa object? So, kunyari, car name, car.name, okay? Object, and then the property name equals the value. Okay? Yun yung kanyang pseudocode. Ang pseudocode ng objects are, ulit, car is equals to object. Okay? So, object, or object name, tapos dot, okay, properties, or the data, and then equals the value. Okay? That's the pseudocode of a object. Generic to class excuse me. Kahit anong gamitin yung um tawag dito, kahit anong gamitin yung programming language, ganyan talaga yung ano niya, yung pseudocode with regards to um programming language that you are using. Next is the methods. So yung methods naman, yung action perform. Okay? So ito yung mga properties. We have car.name equals fiat. And then car.model equals 500. Car.weight is 850 kilograms. And then car.color is white. And then the methods are car.start. Okay, yan yung property. I mean, yan yung method. Okay, ano yun yung action performed towards to your object. Okay? Kumbaga, ito yung object mo, pwede siya mag-start, pwede ka mag-drive, pwede ka mag-brake, pwede ka mag-stop. Okay? Naintindihan, class? Are we good with object? Hello, class. Akala ko
Yes po.
disconnected ako eh. Akala ko nag-AFK kayong lahat eh. Okay? So that's the when we're speaking of objects. So hindi naman natin ito di-discuss kasi sa Java tayo magdi-discuss ng ano. I just want to show or para at least ma-relate nyo yung sa discussion natin. Kasi hindi pwede na dinidiscuss ko to. Tapos there's something unclear with the description itself. So if the description itself is not clear, how can you able to understand what I'm trying to say here? Okay? So now we're somewhat enlightened about hindi naman Java kasi ba't kasi gumagamit pa ako ng JavaScript, Java na lang. Pero alam ko mayroon din object Java. Ayun 'no, wala kasi siya sa ano, tutorials point kasi 'to, hindi siya ano, hindi siya W3 School. Mas maganda kasi example ng W3 School, eh. Okay. Um, Here's the example for object. Let me just check. Ba't hindi naglo-load? No, just like that. Ayun. So ayan, 'di ba? So, nasa introduction pa naman tayo. So, we're going deeper about objects. I just want to somewhat clear the things about uh, object. Okay, so when we say class, a class can be defined as template or blueprint that describe the behavior state that the object of its type support. Okay? So, meron tayong classes in Java. So, classes in Java is a blueprint from which individual objects are created. Okay? So, for example, um, sir, ano pinagkaiba ni um, object and classes? Si classes kasi yung template or blueprint, okay, ng mga object mo. So, si object, ang hinahawakan niya data. Ang hinahawakan ni class ay object. Okay? So, define as template blueprint that describes the behavior state of that object. Okay? So, kumbaga, si object, merong class and what you call this? Si object, meron siyang properties and methods. Si class naman is the behavior and state of the object. Okay? So, kumbaga, with regards to hierarchical whiteboard, sorry kung ang dami kong class, sabihin niyo kung mabilis ako. Mabilis ba? Di ko alam kung masyado akong mabilis, pero pagka na whiteboard, ano bang pwede gamiting whiteboard? Ito ba? Can I use this? Oh no, I need to wait. Web whiteboard. Can I use this one? Ah. ito nga yung ginagamit ko. Okey naman class, hindi naman medyo mabilis ang aking ano, discussion. Okay. So, for example, this is your class, okay? With regards to hierarchical 'no, 'pag class mo, under mo ng class meron kang object, okay? Ay no, sorry. Okay, um, where's the arrow? Yeah, this one. Okay, meron ka nito, tapos isa pa, tapos meron ka nito, tsaka meron ka nito, okay? So, meron kang state, okay, which is we're going to discuss this 'pag nasa classes na tayo, behavior, okay? And then ano pa yun? I forgot, I'm so sorry. Ah, behavior type support type. Meron kasi type support 'to, eh, type. Okay, which pointing into your, all of those 3 are particular with, um oh no, this one. All of these are particular with the, object, okay? So kumbaga si classes yung object handler niyo. Eh, tas si object naman handler niyo ng data. So, ang nagfo-fall on naman si object kay, let me just wait. Oh, bakit ito? Freehand pala yun. Ito pala, sorry. Tas ito naman, si object meron siyang methods and properties. Oh, sorry. Property, this one. Okay, property. Okay. So, ganyan siya. Okay. So kumbaga ito classification or I mean parts of the class and then which particular to object, which objects are contains data which are the properties of the object and the action performed for that particular data which is the methods. Okay? Sir, I just want to give some emphasis with regards to this one kasi it's important for us to know the essence and the use of the object-oriented programming before we go directly and trying to somewhat implement this into your programs. Kasi kailangan maintindihan nyo siyang maigi. I mean, makuha nyo yung kasi kahit matutunan niyo 'to, kung hindi niyo gets kung para saan siya or ano ba yung essence nito, kailan ba kami gagamit nito or such, pointless din. Okay, so somewhat, yeah, I just giving some things about, um, OOP. Okay, so ito yung example niya. Kunyari meron kang, um, what you call this, nawala ako. Ito yung class niyo, okay? So, ito yung class niyo which is particular to dog. Okay, and then, meron kang, mga, variable declaration like string breed, int age, and then string color. Okay? Tapos ito, you can actually, accept or you can actually, um, tawag dito, assume this as your, behavior of the class. Okay? So, kunyari sa behavior mo, okay, nasaan na yung example? Under barking, meron kang object na loud, okay, or silent bark. Tapos ano yung mga data about ano, dun sa silent na, um, object mo, okay. So, para 'pag tinawag si barking, eto yung methods niya. Tapos may under the object, meron kang, um, um, data inside of it or the properties of your, object, okay. So, meron tayong iba't ibang classes. Masyado na 'tong malalim pero ayun yung, eto yung sample niya, okey? Yung and then when you create object, okay. So, eto naman is pang ano 'to, okay. So, meron kang public class, eto yung pinaka-class name mo, puppy, okay. So, and then this ito kasi kailangan ma-discuss muna natin kung ano yung constructor, ano yung destructor, okay? So, meron pa mga implementation, different kinds of implementation of objects. Pero yung kumbaga ini-introduce ko lang siya sa inyo. Okay, so let's go back. So, we're somewhat aware of the what is class, what is object. But we're going to next meeting we're going dig deeper about classes and then um objects and then classes and then implementation types of objects and classes. So the new class inherits all the properties of the original class, a principle called inheritance. So ito, kumbaga, meron kang mga variable, parang ito, kunyari, class, ano yung inheritance? So, for example, meron kang variable declaration na string breed, okay? Meron kang int age tsaka string color. Pag nasa loob ka ng isang class, you can use these variables into your methods. Hindi mo na siya kailangan i-declare, hindi mo na kailangan mag-string color dito, hindi mo na kailangan mag-int age dito. Okay, you can use age as it is that is a specific variable. Okay, hindi mo na siya kailangan i-declare kasi you're under the same class. Okay? So, ayun yun. So, local variable yung tawag doon. So, pagka naman global variable, pwede mo siyang gamitin sa labas ng class. Okay? So, ayun yung iba pang topic. Pero that's the thing with regards to inheritance that you can inherit. Pwede pong ipamana yung value ng string breed mo. Kunyari may value to into your objects. Okay? Or other classes inside this class. Okay? Pag naka-local. Pag global, pwede rin naman outside. Okay? So, next. Polymorphism. What's a polymorphism? It is redefining methods, properties, and operations to behave differently with the different objects. Okay? So, kumbaga si polymorph, kaya nga siya um, root word niya is polymorph or polymorphism is to change its original value into other values. Okay? So, ayun siya. Si tawag dito, si data encapsulation for security, si inheritance is to code reuse, si polymorphism is for um, morphing, okay? Or changing your data into another form, okay? So operator overloading. So the low plus symbol plus sign has many function. It adds integers, decimal, and doubles. It joins string together. Di ba pag nakikita natin to plus sign, it's somewhat concatenating those values. Each operation calls for different code to execute the operation within the context in which it occurs. So operator overloading is the term that refers to the ability of the existing operator, okay, to have more than one function depending on the context. Okay? So ito, na-discuss ko na yung object, pero gagawin natin yan. Okay? So, creating class, kaya na-discuss ko na rin sa inyo yung class. So, um, yep, we're going to skip this. Okay? So, ayun lang naman yon, polymorphism, inheritance, classes, objects. So, those are the things that we're going, that's the main things with regards to um, OOP. Okay? So, dun mag-revolve yung ating um, mga discussion. Okay? So, next step natin, the, what's the next lecture? Siguro by next week na tayo by next meeting tayo mag-Java, tapusin natin yung sa classes and objects, okay? So, let's have our discussion with regards to objects first, okay? So, this is object-oriented programming basics, okay? So, after this discussion, so we're going to try to implement objects and classes into our program, okay? So, with regards to classes and objects, so this is sample. Car naman, kanina is dog yung ating sample. Ay, car din pala yung sample natin earlier. Okay, because that's the basic sample with regards to implementing your OOP into your program. So with regards to objects, the term object is not easily defined. So according to Webster, object is a visible or tangible thing of relative stable form, a thing that may be apprehended intellectually, a thing to which thought or action is directed. In this class, we will use the following definition. So with regards to object, we have state, behavior, and identity. Okay, so ganun siya dinedefine with regards to the use of object-oriented programming. Okay, so meron siyang state, meron siyang behavior, and then identity. Okay, sa object. Okay, so with regards to this, we have classes and objects as per implementation. So for the state, kasi sabi dito, ang object daw has state. So the question is, what is state? Okay, so the state of an object encompasses all of the static properties, okay, of the object plus the current dynamic values of each this property. Okay, so pag sinabi nating state class, the state of an object encompasses all of the static properties. Okay? So when you say static properties, these are the values, these are the data that is not changeable. Not changeable ka sa static. Pag dynamic naman, your values into your objects are changeable. Okay? So kumbaga, static value or a constant value. Okay? So, kumbaga hindi siya nababago. So, state of the object is Ford Mustang is this cooling looking red as per the example. So, property is an inherent or distinctive characteristic trait, quality, or feature that contribute to making an object uniquely that object. Okay? So with regards to property, inherent distinctive characteristic, as much as possible, we actually, for example, we're trying to put properties into that particular object. As much as possible, we need to be more distinctive. Okay? When you say distinctive, when you say this color or this specific property is for this specific object. Kumbaga madali mo siyang ma-identify because of this property. Okay? So for example, a property of this Mustang is its color. Okay? So attribute is another name for the property. Okay? So we will use the word attribute or data member to refer to the state of an object. Okay? So for example, okay, kumbaga, pinapaliwanag niya dito class ng state is equals to properties and properties must be distinctive and characteristic. Hindi pwede na kung ano-ano lang yung ilalagay natin sa ating property. Okay? As much as possible, kailangan is distinctive, trait, quality, or feature. Na kumbaga, tumutukoy dun sa object nyo. Kung tao yan, so about sa tao yung inyong properties. Hindi pwede na double meaning siya na pwede siya sa animal. Kung sasakyan yan, okay, dapat yung kanyang properties is for car only. Okay? So, for the example, so ang attributes natin is properties, elevator travel up or down. So elevator is equals to properties up and down. Okay, vending machine accepting coins, and then clock is indicates the current time of the day. So what are the values inside your kasi pwede kang mag-include ng values, hindi lang properties inside your object. Okay, so like for example, you can have current floor, okay, number of coins deposited, and then the number of minutes since the last hour. So normally, it supports your values or supports your properties. Okay, kasi kumbaga, elevator is, let's say elevator is equals to 13th floor. Okay, okay, so it actually particular to your property. So that's fine. Okay, supporting details yan, data yan eh. Okay? So next is the behavior. So with regards to behavior is how an object acts and reacts. So this is what you call, okay, pag sa OOP, ang tawag sa kanya behavior in general term. Parang si state. State naman in general term is properties. Pero pagka nagko-code kayo using Java, you will use the word method. Kasi kino-code mo na siya. Kumbaga, pag pseudocode, behavior, and state, pagka kino-code mo na siya into syntax, that is method and um, properties. Okay? So behavior is how an object acts and reacts in terms of the state changes and interaction with other objects. So pwede mo kasing pagsamahin yung ibang object. Okay, so for example, this object will define another object. Okay, so how does the behavior of object affects your other objects? So how does your object act and reacts in terms of the state changes? Okay, pwede mo rin kasi pagsamahin. Okay? So, pwede ako kunyari, let's say, um, void copy. Okay? Sorry, dito na ako magko-code ng pseudocode. Okay? And then, yan. Tapos, syntax. Okay? Syntax. Oh, sorry. Wait lang. Void. Pwede kang public void na lang. Public para pwede siya global. Public void copy. And then the close and open parentheses and then the syntax inside your object. Syntax. Okay, so ganyan yung ano. Tapos, meron ka na public void cut. Okay, and then the syntax inside your code. Syntax. Syntax. Okay. So, tapos, pwede sila ngayon public class um, pets. Tapos, inside the public class pets is the let me or pwede animals, yeah. Pwede naman din, yeah. Yan, pwede. Ayan. So ganyan siya. So under public class pets, handle ni class pets si public void puppy and si public void cat. Okay? So kumbaga ano siya, under siya with your class. Okay? So we will use the word method to describe object behavior in Java. So invoking a method causes the behavior to take place. So yun nga sinabi ko, pwede mong pagsabayin kasi yung dalawang object mo, ito yung dalawang object mo into one class. Okay? So kasi pwede mong pagsamahin yung info nung nung puppy mo. Sir, anong sample code niyan with regards to pseudocode na lang kunyari sa public void puppy mo is under mo dyan. Tapos pwede ka mag-declare ng int string name equals brownie. Okay? Tapos terminator and then int age is equals to 3. Okay? Ayan. So, ayan yung sample object mo. Kasi pag tinawag mo tong puppy, ito yung lalabas. Brownie age 3. Name brownie age 3. Okay? Puwede mo na lagyan ng info like system.out.println. Tapos puwede kang maglagay ng ano, na pagsamahin mo siya na, under your pets are, tapos tatawagin mo 'tong public void puppy tsaka public void cat. Hindi mo na kailangan i-declare yung ano, tatawagin mo na lang yung name and age na variable, okey? Nage-gets yung logic, Les?
Yes po.
Okey. So, next is types of methods for ano actually class, may iba tayo 'no. Um, before ayoko talaga ng programming. Like, it's not my thing before. Like, 'pag nagpo-programming iritang-irita. Yung gano'ng feeling na parang, "Eto na naman programming." Yung gano'n. And then dumating ako sa part na kung saan ano, kasi sabi ko ayoko mag-programmer. Ayoko talaga mag-programmer nun. So, sabi ko, "Ano ba yung mga job na hindi ako magpo-program?" So, sabi ko kaya ko naman mag-SQL. So, magde-database na lang ako and then napunta ako ng ano, ng programmer pa rin, junior programmer. Kasi kailangan ko na ng work nun kasi nga siyempre para makatulong sa parents. Then may opening ng work ta's I tried to study for 1 week. Talagang maghapon yun, nag-aaral lang ako. Tapos after 6 months kasi 'di ba contractual is 6 months. And then parang ayoko na ituloy, yung mare-renew yung contract ko for regular employee. Tapos sabi nung boss ko if I want to still continue my application or my job as a programmer. Tapos sabi ko as I speak, as far as the salary concerned, it's above my expectation. But sir, sabi kong gano'n, I don't see myself working as a programmer. I love your company, but the problem is I don't love what I'm doing in your company. Sabi kong gano'n. Tapos sabi niya, "What do you think is your, preferred job?" Kasi sabi nung boss ko, parang yung manager ko, he wants me to stay at the company. Tapos sabi ko, gusto ko ano, mag-QA. Tapos nag-QA ako, aba, akala ko naman makakalampas na ako sa programming. Ang nangyari sa akin, 'pag nagko-quality analyst ka pala is chine-check mo yung code. Nagche-check ka rin, hindi ka nagko-code pero nagbabasa ka pa rin ng code. Parang dun ko na-enjoy yung programming kasi parang kumbaga binabasa mo yung code ta's tinitignan mo kung ano yung mali, ano yung, dapat idagdag, paano ma-optimize yung code, paano mo papaiksiin yung code. Ta's 'yan sa OOP, 'yan kaya 'pag pinag-aano ako OOP lagi kasi mas gusto ko kasi mas maiksi yung code, ayun parang gano'n. Para at least mas mabilis yung execution ng program. Ayun lang, share lang. Kasi nasa early stages pa kayo ng ano. So, siguro try to enjoy what you're doing na lang din. And then try to find yourself kung saan kayo medyo komportable. Okay? Tapos, try to motivate yourself na rin. No? It's quite helpful for you to survive. that if that if you're motivated, then you can actually push yourself doing those things that you don't want. So, going back, so this is the last topic for today kasi ito ay about class na. Ayan natin, class na siya. So I know, uh, yeah, sir, may tanong po ako, hindi po kasi ako sure kung tama. Yeah, sige, Clemente. Ang static 'pag nilagyan mo ng return sa dulo, magre-return 'yan. Mm, lalagyan mo siya ng return ano, recursive value para mag-return siya dun sa value na gusto mo. Ayan. Pero pagka static void is siyempre not changeable. Alisin mo yung static para changeable siya, ayan. Um, Going back, so we have, thank you John. So class, 'pag may tanong kayo with regards to programming, as much as possible sasagutin ko siya. And then, pag hindi ko naman alam, I will be trying to somewhat check on the internet and then somewhat explain it to you. Okay? So there are four basic types of methods. We have modifier, accessor, constructor, and destructor. Okay? So ito yung methods na kung saan somewhat it gives another, or these are the roles of methods into your um program. Okay? Kumbaga ito yung pwedeng gawin ng methods nyo para dun sa object nyo. Okay? So as what I discussed earlier. So, ayun tama nga ako diyan. Chineck ko din sa Stack Overflow. Yes, tama nga ako. So kunyari static double, ito yung code niya. Sorry class, di ako mapakali doon sa tanong eh. I just want to make sure din. Ayoko naman magbigay ng maling information. Pero ito tama. Kunyari ito yung program mo, static double withdraw amount. Okay? Tapos kunyari the parameters are int, tapos which account? Which account? Int, sorry. Which account? Kunyari yan yung Tapos uh, um, console. Ito is to. By the way, dito Java, this is I think this is C sharp, right? Yeah, console.write is C sharp. This type ko lang yung code, enter number. That's a good question, by the way. It actually about rin naman, return statements. Okay, enter how much or static values, how much you would like to withdraw. Tapos, next is double amount, double amount equals, gumagamit naman kayo ng parse so tingin ko mag-iintindihan yung somewhat sample syntax. That parse console that read line. Console that read line, tapos dalawang tapos yan. Tapos ayun yung ito yung sinasabi kong part, return amount. Pwede ka mag-return ng value. Ayan. Diba ito, static double withdraw amount in which account. Tapos, these are the parameters of this. And then, sample output for the user notification. And then, ay walang closing parenthesis, sorry. Ang hirap mag-type dun sa message box. Then, double amount, double that parse, then initialization, console that read line, and then return the value. Ayan. So, kahit naka-static ka, static void, so that's fine. Okay? So, sorry, clear out ko lang din. Gusto ko rin din parang mag-cite ng example. So, for modifier, subtype called a mutator. Okay, so change the value associated with an attribute of the object, which is, for example, your modifier is change car color. Okay? So, for example, your action towards your value is to modify, okay, or somewhat, it is called mutator sometimes, to change a specific data into your object. Okay? Next is accessor. So, returns the value associated with an attribute of the object. Ito naman, nagre-return siya ng value. Ibig sabihin, nagto-throw out siya ng value. Dun sa, kunyari, kung ito yung object na to, nagbibigay siya ng value. Okay? Yun na lang yung ibang term siguro that I can use. Next is constructor. When we say constructor naman yung method na ginawa natin. Okay? So, called once when the object is created. So, constructor, pag gumagawa tayo ng panibagong properties sa object. Okay? Next is destructor naman if you're going to destroy an object or if you're going to destroy a specific property. So, destructor yung tawag doon. Okay? Or parang somewhat delete. Other term for that. Okay? Are we good, class? For methods. Hello, class?
Yes po.
Okay. Thank you. Okay? Yun na lang muna for methods. Okay? So, magbibigay pa ako ng sample codes about Java naman. Tapos, we're good with the object. We're going to discuss classes next meeting. Okay? And then, by the way, class, siguro papagawa ko na lang sa inyo kasi hindi ko na, may tanong ako sa inyo, class. Sagot kayo, ha? Kailangan ko pa bang i-review kayo sa Java? Kasi bala ko siyang iskipan. Pero kung gusto niyo, wait. If you want me to discuss it to you, sorry nabubulol kasi ako pagka ano. Wait, hindi ako mapakali para inisip. Kung ko kung gusto niyo na i-discuss ko siya sa inyo, ayun. Yun yung term pala. Gusto niyo ba na discuss ko pa yon? Kasi I'm planning to skip that part. Class?
Discuss, sir.
Po, sir.
Discuss po.
Discuss po, sir.
Okay. Sige, so siguro next week, kumpleto naman na kayo. Alam ko napakita ko naman na sa inyo yun before. Okay. Ano, nakalimutan nyo na siguro. So that's fine. Dire-diretso na natin hanggang objects tsaka classes. So next meeting. Wait nga, check ko nga yung NetBeans ko. Buti ka mo, tinanong ko sa inyo kasi I'm planning to skip that. Sabi ko, alam niyo na siguro to. So, yeah, sabi ko, tingin ko, i-skip ko na lang ako ng, ano, ng... Pero class, huwag niyong disregard tong Java sa Accenture, puro Java gamit eh. Tingin ko naman is, I have a good series of lectures about, kasi more actually ginagamit ko talaga si Java for kakatulad sa UCC, ginagamit ko siya for what you call this? This is for OOP talaga. Okay? So wait lang, check ko lang muna ha mamaya para at least I can say na yes, let's go. Kasi if we're going to start dun sa pinakaumpisa, tapos wala ako sample, let me just check. Ito, yes. Ito, looping. Wait, let me just check. Introduction, source packages, introduction. Yeah. Tapos, this is array. So, meron na akong array. Wala nang problema. Let me just, this is combo box. Test libraries, source packages. Bakit ganun? Ang dami kong ginawa na walang laman. Combo box array, encapsulation. May information system nga ako dito eh. Wait. Check ko nga to. Tignan lang natin, class. Ito. Napakita ko na sa inyo yan. Tapos meron din tayo data abstraction. Actually, yung data abstraction is part of the methods of OOP. Pero hindi siya ina-accept. I don't know why. Pero yeah, it's part of ano rin naman. Ito GUI. Ito JPanel. If I'm going to play this one. JPanel. Okay, panels lang siya. Pero sige, gagawa ko ng lecture from Ang didiscuss natin is input-output, operators, looping statement, conditional statements, tas array. Isang discussion class kasi review na yun eh. OOP na tayo eh. Pero at least nagre-request kayo ng review para at least mag-review ko kayo. Ang bala ko kasi sanang paggawa sa inyo is sabi ko, sige, let me check if naalala nyo pa yung Java. So sana ang gagawin ko sana is may papagawa ko sa inyo sa Java na mako-cover yung if statement, looping statement, and such. Pero I think we need to go back there for at least 1 to 2 meetings. Tapusin natin hanggang Java array. Tapos let's go with the OOP part, no? Sige, malakas kayo sa akin eh. Pero siguro I'm going to somewhat give you some exercises na lang about what we discussed, hindi na lang about dun sa Java. Okay, and then don't forget to install Java. Pero I know you have your Java na just for those people na hindi pa nakakapag-install. Okay? So, um, I know that's too much for you that we discuss OOP, introduction to OOP, and then classes and objects, and then deeper discussion about the objects. So next week is classes, and then Java, magja-Java tayo next week. Okay, let's have your attendance. But first, let me just check. Where did I put your attendance? It's 2022. Second sem. No. No.